All right, good afternoon. As previously told numerous times, the Secretary-General has arrived in New Delhi in India, and he just started his program of activities. He just concluded attending a dinner organized by Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, organized for high-level participants at the Artificial Intelligence Impact Summit. Tomorrow morning, the Secretary-General will take part in the summit's opening ceremony, which will be followed by a plenary with heads of states and governments. In his remarks at the AI Summit, he will say that the meeting in India brings this conversation closer to the realities shaping much of the world, because the future of AI cannot be decided by a handful of countries or left to the whims of a few billionaires. He will call for AI to be accessible for everyone and to benefit everyone and to be safe for everyone. We've shared those remarks with you under embargo, and we will issue them as soon as they are delivered. Throughout the day, the Secretary-General will hold bilateral meetings with leaders and ministers attending the summit. He will also meet with our UN colleagues based in India, and we'll keep you updated on all of his activities during his time in Delhi. Meanwhile, in Paris, the Secretary-General addressed the International Energy Agency ministerial meeting. He did so via pre-recorded video message. He noted that we've entered the age of clean energy, and renewables are now the cheapest, the fastest, and the safest source of new electricity almost everywhere. The Secretary-General highlighted that those who lead this transition will lead the global economy of the future, adding that some fossil fuel interests remain hell-bent on slowing progress, spreading disinformation, pretending that a transition is unrealistic or unaffordable. The Secretary-General said that the world's addiction to fossil fuels is one of the greatest threats to global stability and prosperity. He stressed that we must stop treating the transition away from fossil fuels as taboo, and that delay will only breed instability. The Secretary-General called for a dedicated global platform to deliver a fair, an orderly, and an affordable transition plan away from fossil fuels, aligned with 1.5 degrees objectives. That message was shared. Sounds like a high church. Sorry. Start again. That message was shared with you. It's also available on video. Meanwhile, back here, Hannah Tete, the Secretary-General's Special Representative for Libya, briefed the Security Council this morning on the work of the UN mission and that UN mission in that country, and she regretted that there's been no meaningful progress in the dialogue between the House of Representatives and the High Council of State in completing the first two steps of the roadmap for Libya. She said that despite the UN mission's sustained engagement with these two institutions, their inability to use their agreed mechanisms and follow up unilateral actions has further eroded their credibility. This confirms the Libyan people's perceptions that the two bodies are unable or unwilling to work together to conclude the first two milestones of the roadmap. Ms. Tete warned that the situation in Libya is deteriorating on many fronts. The judicial system is now increasingly divided, with serious implications for the country's unity. If actions are not taken to preserve that unity, coherence, and independence of the judiciary, she added, the conflicting legal systems that emerge will impact the economy, the elections, governance, security, and, of course, human rights. It is a red line that, if crossed, can undermine the unity of the state. This afternoon, the Council will hold a ministerial-level meeting on the Middle East with Undersecretary-General Rosemary DiCarlo briefing Council members on behalf of the Secretariat. Turning to Gaza, our humanitarian colleagues tell us that families across Gaza are marking the first day of Ramadan today in harsh conditions, in unsafe shelters, or out in the open with limited access to essential goods and services. At the Rafah crossing, conditions for passengers, for people remain inadequate. As the Office of the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs tells us, we and our humanitarian partners have visited the reopened crossings, have noted gaps in basic facilities, including limited availabilities of latrines and hand washing stations, raising concerns for hygiene at collection points. People are experiencing prolonged waiting periods, often in areas with limited shade, insufficient seating, and a lack of wheelchairs. The conditions of the access road to and from Rafah is also of concern, particularly for patients needing medical evacuation. We are engaging with relevant authorities to ensure that conditions are safe, that they are dignified. We and our partners working on food security have adjusted the distribution hours to better align with fasting hours during Ramadan. This is to reduce overcrowding, especially ahead of the iftar meal. These measures are intended to ensure access for older persons, people with disabilities, and women who head their households. Moving to Sudan, we join our High Commissioner for Human Rights, Volker Turk, in expressing alarm that more than 50 civilians were killed in drone strikes carried out by the parties to the conflict just in over 2 days this week. These latest killings are yet another reminder of the devastating toll on civilians from the escalating use of drones in Sudan. We renew our call on both sides to cease the violence and engage in dialogue towards a ceasefire. On the humanitarian front, a UN convoy carrying supplies for more than 130,000 people has reached the cities of Dilling and Kadugli in South Kordofan State after weeks of delays due to high levels of insecurity along the route. The 26-truck convoy was led by the World Food Program, UNICEF, and the UN Development Program, and it is the first to reach these areas in more than 3 months. This is particularly significant for the residents of Dilling and Kadugli who've endured prolonged sieges with commercial and humanitarian routes cut off, driving spiraling humanitarian needs. Recent analysis from the Integrated Food Phase Classification System indicates that likely famine exists in both of these cities. It is now critical to build on this breakthrough by ensuring sustained access for people in need across South Kordofan and the wider Kordofan region. This requires the facilitation of the parties to the conflict in line with their obligations under international humanitarian law, which sadly we need to remind them almost every day. Funding remains essential. This year's humanitarian response plan calls for $2.9 billion to reach more than 20 million people. That's 2 out of every 5 people in Sudan in need across the country. We urge donors to maintain and step up their support. And Bessan has just arrived for a very good quiz. I think our quizmeister, David Hunter, has outdone himself. This nation is the only country in the world that is spread across all 4 hemispheres, which means that it's both in the northern hemisphere, the southern hemisphere, and it is both east and west of the 180th meridian. No, just say, I mean, north and south is one thing. Just think of east and west. I have to stop these quizzes because it is so embarrassing that the United Nations Press Corps has such a low level of knowledge of geography.
Is it an island?
It is an island. It's an archipelago.
Oh, Indonesia?
The capital of this archipelago is Tarawa.
Fiji?
I'm going to put you out of your misery. It's Kiribati, and we thank our friends in Kiribati. Wow. Okay. I don't know if any of you deserve questions. All right, Edie, go ahead.
Well, at least I guessed that it was an island.
At least you guessed. Yes, exactly.
On the 50 civilians casualties in Sudan, you said carried out by parties. Does the UN have confirmation that both the government and the RSF were involved?
Look, what we have seen is that civilians have been killed by drones who are both, and these civilians have been one time or another in government-controlled areas and in areas controlled by the RSF, which would make us believe that both sides are using them. Pam, and then we'll go.
Thank you, Steph. On the Board of Peace, can you talk about the UN representation, still Mladenov?
No, Nikolai Mladenov does not work for the United Nations. I mean, he did at some point, but he's in his current role. He is not working for the United Nations. As we've said, Tom Fletcher had been invited to participate. Unfortunately, due to a long schedule and already postponed trip to South Sudan, he's not able to go. We are, however, feeding information into the discussions on the humanitarian work that we've done since the ceasefire.
And so will there be a representative at this week's?
At this point, no.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Efrat, and then
Thank you so much,
Sorry.
Steph. Yes?
Okay, no, just talking to Efrat, but Efraim, go ahead.
Okay, no, just a number question. Yesterday you announced that the UN is seeking 1.6 billion for 6 million IDPs or refugees also in Sudan.
Yeah.
Today, the 2.9 billion, is that in addition to the 1.6 billion?
Okay, your lack
what's
of
the
knowledge of
difference?
geography is only matched by my
Yes.
pathetic knowledge
Thanks
of
for
arithmetic.
pointing it out.
We will get clarity. One was more regional. This is more specifically for Sudan, but I'll get the clarification for you. Yes, please go ahead, Efrat.
So last week we have the Secretary-General congratulating Iran on the Islamic Revolution Day, and this week we have Iran elected as the Vice Chair of the UN Charter Committee. And I would like to ask you, does the UN believe that Iran's record is consistent with the UN Charter and they will be able to strengthen it?
Look, just to correct you, as I think I answered extensively on the letter, these are letters that are word for word the same to every member state. It was congratulating each member state on their national day. That being said, the election of any member state to a body is the result of voting by member states themselves. So questions about who gets elected to which body is a question for member states. We expect every member state of this organization to uphold the Charter, to uphold the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, given that they themselves signed on to this club that the UN is, and those are some of our founding documents. And the Secretary-General, when human rights are violated or when the Charter is violated, has called out member states.
So is he going to condemn the election of Iran?
It is not for him to condemn the election of any member state to a body. He will condemn and has when member states, through their actions, he feels violate the Charter or human rights. Ibtisam, and then we'll go to Greg.
Thank you. 150 former ministers and ambassadors and diplomats accused the French foreign minister of disseminating and disinformation and called for corrective action regarding the inaccurate information about the remarks of Miss Albanese last week. You were asked last week about her remarks, and your office distanced itself from I refused actually to support her, and you said you don't agree with her remarks. So the question today, whether you have a change of heart.
No, what I said is that we don't always agree with what she says, right? It is not for us to back her remarks or condemn her remarks. She's a special rapporteur. We defend the institution of special rapporteurs. We've also made it clear that no UN officials should be personally targeted with personal attacks or violence. The issue that you raise, I mean, if there's criticism of the statement by the French, then those member states should take it up with the French Foreign Ministry.
When you say that you don't agree always with the remarks of Ms. Albanese, can you clarify what exactly?
No, it is not for the Secretary-General to comment on remarks of special rapporteurs. They have a very specific independent role. And it is for them to do that role, but it is not for us to be asked to support or not support whatever special rapporteurs say. Greg.
Thank you, Steph. We understand then that there's not a UN representative at the Board of Peace. Have there been any talks or exchanges on timings, logistics between the UN and the Board of Peace? I understand the Security Council today was brought up because of the Board of Peace meeting. What dialogue is there between the two?
Well, the issue of scheduling of Security Council meeting is up to the presidency. So, I mean, that's a question you should ask the UK mission. Often meetings are moved around to accommodate high-level visitors. Obviously, a number of foreign ministers were coming to Washington, also wanted to participate in this meeting. So I assume that's why the meeting was changed. We continue to have contacts through Tom Fletcher and through Ramiz Alabkarov, our humanitarian coordinator on the ground, for the work of the Board of Peace on Gaza, right, which was approved and voted on by the Security Council.
To follow up, is the SG concerned about not having somebody in the meeting this week?
No, I mean, listen, some things can happen, some things can't happen, but obviously the dialogue is continuing, and we're doing what we can to ensure that the U.S.-led peace plan is implemented. Yes, please, go ahead in the back.
Regarding the Board of Peace, the Vatican decided not to take part into the Board of Peace. Do you have any comment on that?
Far for me to comment on what the Holy See decides in its wisdom.
Have you spoken or someone from
No, I mean,
you?
there's no coordination. Again, we're dealing with an institution. We're celebrating our 80th anniversary. I think the Holy See has a few more years on us. But sorry, it's that church chiming that got me in. All this to say, no, every member state and permanent observer has their own opinion, and we were, as I told Greg, we're working with the Board of Peace on the Gaza file. Yes, sir.
Kyota Tanaka from the Asahi Shimbun. It's been a while since this topic came up here, but it's been over a month since the U.S. announced that it's going to withdraw from some UN entities last month. And I'm just wondering if UN has received official communications from the U.S. by now, like what they mean to withdraw from, the Department of Economic and Social Affairs.
I mean, that's obviously we've been in touch with the U.S., but I think that's a question you need to ask them.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry. Minlu, go ahead.
Thank you, Stéphane. One question about Epstein files. A panel of experts of UN Rights Council released a statement saying that Epstein files contain a number of evidence may meet the threshold of crimes against humanity, and suggesting the existence of a global criminal enterprise. Is there any action the United Nations would do?
Well, I mean, I think it is very important that the judicial system of every member state that is somehow implicated investigate all of the allegations fully to ensure that those who committed crimes, those who abused women and girls, those who abused their influence, be held to account. Edie, and then Edie, and then we'll go to you, Dennis.
Just a quick follow-up on today's Security Council meeting. I know the Secretary-General is not here, but are any other UN officials having bilateral meetings with any of the ministers who are
I'm not
here?
aware, but I will check. Thank you. Dennis, please.
Today, trilateral talks with Russia, Ukraine, and USA have concluded. Have you got any comment on that?
No, I mean, we hope that the dialogue will continue so we can see an end to this war in line with the way we say it every time, which I'm happy to repeat. All right. On that note, I don't see any other questions. Enjoy what remains of the day.